Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first weekly virtual meeting or video, instructional video. Today I'm going to be going over kind of some of the things that we read last week in week one, primarily on the topic of bundlers and package managers and task managers and things like that. And so I'm just going to walk through just some things and to show off kind of some of that stuff and how it works, and just some some stuff that you can learn from that and see and kind of understand better, hopefully. So I have just set up. This is VS Code here, and then browser, and then I like to run the terminal just right here in VS Code. So you'll be seeing some commands in here that I run. So first things first, npm. That's our package manager. Stands for Node Package Manager. If you go to npm dot, I think, is it org? Nope. npm dot, it's not com. What is it? npmjs.com. That's right. They like to change the name up here. So node packaged masterfully. If we that looks to be cached. Maybe. Oh, maybe they've officially named it that. It used to be that this would change, and you'd get some funny names. But okay, I won't waste too much time there. But this is the website, and essentially this hosts packages, right? So there's a lot of different packages in here. Let's say we want to make a game, and we kind of want to use a game engine. So we can search like game engine in here, and we can see a bunch of different packages that we could incorporate into our game, like console game engine, and there's a bunch of these that you can use and implement into your code, and they all have different licenses too. So you might want to double check that. So if you click on one of these, you'll get a license right here, MIT. And so some of them are more open than others, but so this is just like a library. It's code that others have built and put on here that you can use, and so and then you can come here and see the source. So if you click on that repo link, you can come and see this is the code that builds this play canvas code library. So so for this demo tonight, I'm going to use a couple. I'm not going to be using necessarily the stuff that we use in this course, just to kind of show some other things. And so the bundler I'm going to use is called Parcel. I know a couple other courses here at BYU Idaho use it sometimes. And so here's Parcel. So if you come in here, you can see, Parcel is a zero configuration build tool for the web. It's a bundler, very a lot like Snowpack. Snowpack, I don't know if you guys saw, but has been deprecated and is no longer maintained. But for the sake of education, we continue to use it. But this is the one that I'll demo and play with today. You can go in here and see more information about it. I think there's a whole website. So parcel.js here, where we'll get into kind of how it works. But this is a cool one. It's pretty basic, and there's not a lot of configuration and setup, so I really like it. A couple other things that I'm going to just use to demo. And again, just to show you kind of how npm works. So there's a package called React, It's a UI library, and we don't use it in this class or any class at BYU Idaho that I know of, just because it's always good to understand JavaScript, the core JavaScript stuff, before diving into something like this, because when you do, you'll understand kind of how React's working under the hood. If you just start with React, then when things like problems arise or bugs or things in your code, it's a little bit harder to understand what's going on. And so React is just, I'll show you a little bit, but it's essentially just a UI front end, so, or library to create UI stuff. So let's get started. So with NPM, one cool thing that you can do, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Zoom in. Zoom in. So control. I think that's good, right? It's a little bit bigger. Okay. So we're going to do npm init. And actually, let me get out of here real quick. Let me just create a new directory. What is it? I don't know if I like that zoomed in, but okay. So make directory demo. Oh man, project. Okay, and then change directories to demo project. Okay. Now we can do. Oh, that bugs me. I'm gonna make this bigger for now. Okay, npm init. Okay, and this is a wizard to walk you through creating like a project. So you guys in your team activities this week, you're going to be working with an already created project, but running npm init, you can generate a project. So I'm just going to call it a demo project version 1. Sure, I'm hitting enter, and these are the default as I hit enter. Description, fun demo for WDD 330. Entry point, that's fine. We'll just keep it that way. Test command, we're not going to run any tests. I wish we talked more about tests in this course, but we don't, so we'll just skip that. I'm not going to create a Git repo today. Keywords, that's if I wanted somebody to be able to search on this. As you can see, like, these are keywords that they put in their projects, so we're just going to skip that. It's not going to go. Author, that can be me, brother, Nelson, and then like Nelson at BYU. That's kind of how they do that. License, yeah, it just whatever. MIT, why not? Okay, and then once you go through that, it's going to say, hey, I'm going to write this to this package.json. That's kind of where the project information goes. Is it okay? And you can just review. And essentially it takes our answers to all these questions and it creates some JSON with it. I'm going to say yes. Okay, so then if I come in here and open that, let's see. I can, oops. Open that up here, and I see that JSON. Okay. So now let's add some dependencies because we have some. We need some things. So like I said, I'm going to let's add parcel. So I'm down here again, way down here. Sorry. I'm going to do npm install, and then we're going to add this as a dev because parcel is not needed in the browser, and so I'm going to do that. So that's the same as like install -- save dev. I've done a little shortcut. So I is for install, -- D is for dev. Hit enter, It's going to install parcel for me. Hopefully all this works. I have not tried this out. I haven't built a project from scratch for a couple weeks, so there might be some hiccups, but that's okay. If there are, I'll walk it through how to troubleshoot and stuff. I think that's valuable. So we can see that that's all. It worked. We don't see any warnings or anything. Come up here, dev dependencies, parcel, boom. Okay, then let's come in here and do a. We need to add 2 packages in order to get React to work. So let's do npm I, and these aren't going to be dev necessarily. We're going to just add them as dependencies because it's not like a tool to build like parcel is. This is code that's actually going to go into our project. So I'm going to add React, and then I'm going to also add React DOM, and that's how you get React code into the DOM, into the browser. And I'll show that in a second, but and then let's see what happens here. Should just add 0 vulnerabilities, added 4 packages. If we come up here, I added these 2, but the reason why it says 4 is because they must have subdependencies. Anyway, so now we have those 3 things, and so we kind of have enough to build something. So let's look at our project. Let me open this so that I can kind of yes, I made that, so I trust that. Okay, so this is kind of what we have now. Let me close this and open my terminal again. Okay, so we had the package.json. That's again describes the project, and then we have this package lock. This is kind of important. I won't talk too much about it, but essentially what it does is it locks all the versions of dependencies. So you'll see like all of these are dependencies, right? So Babel is a dependency of parcel, so it's in here, and it locks it to this version. So anytime I do an npm install to install packages, it's going to grab this version, and that's so that it doesn't grab like a newer version that will break the code that I developed against. So as soon as I install those dependencies like I did here, parcel and React, it locks the code of those things and their subdependencies down hard so that my code doesn't break just randomly. So that kind of is just like a snapshot of all the dependencies, and so that every time you run npm install, it's going to look at this package lock and make sure it gets the right things. So you always want to check that into your Git repository and stuff, because it's important, especially when you're sharing development work and stuff. So okay, and I do want to admit some of this is outside the course. It's just for knowledge, so it's not going to be on a test, or some of this won't even be used in this course, but just kind of interesting stuff to take and add to your JavaScript knowledge. Okay, so now we need some source code. So let's create a new folder. I'm going to call it source. Okay, and let's just create just a couple things. Let's do a new file called index.html. Okay, we should all know kind of what that is. Let's do another one called index.js. That will be where we kind of, and then let's do another one called app.js as well. Okay, so and I'm going to show you kind of why this is fun, and kind of what the bundler does. So in our HTML, let's just do, oops. Okay, we got some, okay, we add our doc type, add some HTML. Let's do some English. Just standard stuff, right? So I'm just going to kind of type this up here. Add some car set. Just stuff, you know, that you probably learned in the previous WDD class. Oops. Title. My fun app. Okay, that's probably good for that. We'll add a body. Okay, and then a couple things that are, so we're going to add this this div here, and this is kind of important because this is where we're going to kind of bind our app to. And again, that's a React thing that's not needed for this course, but just to kind of get you excited about further JavaScript stuff, and to show how the bundler works, which is important. Okay, and then we're going to add this script here, and this is what this is similar to Snowpack in that it's Parcel is going to use this HTML page to figure out what it needs to bundle. So it's going to see this and say, hey, you have a JavaScript file. Let's do something with it. So I'm saying it's a module. I'm saying it's named index.js, and that's how that works. Now, hopefully, if you're familiar with what module means, it just means that you're going to do some fun stuff in the JavaScript, like imports and things like that. And I'm pretty sure, and that's important for this course, I think. We'll be doing things like that. So in here, I'm just going to do some stuff. Don't worry too much about it. Just know that it's JavaScript. And then we're going to see what the bundler does with it in a second. So I'm just going to import this create root from, yeah, that's not what I want to import it from. I don't know what all that is. From here, okay, and I want to import my app, which, oops, from app, which we don't have yet, but we're going to create. We're going to fill out, and then we're going to say that our container is document.get element by ID, okay, and that's going to be app, okay, because if you remember in here, we want to target this div. So we're going to grab that div real quick, and that's going to be our container, and then we are going to create a root out of that. And again, this is just React stuff. Oops, I'm going to call it root, and it's going to be create root, and it's going to take a container. So we get some little documentation there. Again, not important for this class. Just know that this is some JavaScript, and then we're going to render the root, and we're going to render this. Now this is the reason why I picked React, because I want to kind of show some things that the bundler will do. You see here, this is not normal JavaScript. This looks a lot like HTML. This is what's called JSX. So like this, JSX, and it's a syntax used with React that looks a lot like HTML, and really does, and I'll show you in a second. There are a couple things that are different. Again, not important. Just know that this is some weird syntax that's different than everything else. And if I try to open this in my browser, it's not going to like that. And in fact, let's see what happens. Let me just make sure. Okay, so when I come over here, and let's just open a file here, and source in here, and see what happens here. let me move this down. It doesn't like, well, it doesn't like that for multiple reasons, but even if it did work, I'm going to do something really quick just to show this. So let's do mpx, what is it, node, what is it? Oh, I forgot. Well, let's come over here and look real quick to remind me. It's like a local server. Oh, serve static. Node static. That's what okay. That's what I want. I'm going to come here. We're going to do npmx node static. This is just going to create a quick server for us real quick. So that I can look at this real quick. So if I open this, okay, so this is my fun app. It's running on a server. We're not going to get those CORS issues again. And if I go to the console, you see this. Maybe you don't see it. If I, how do I do this? Control. Unexpected input, less than sign. It doesn't know what to do with that. Like, that's not JavaScript. That's weird. That, you know. If I put that in a string or something, maybe, but it doesn't know what to do with it. So that's just to say this isn't normal syntax, and we can't just serve it directly from you know, like anything else. So, but we're going to get to where we can serve it, and I'll demonstrate that in a couple minutes. So there we have that. So then let's go in here real quick, and let's just do a fun app, a little thing here. So we're going to just export a function called app. It's not going to take anything, and we're just going to return. And again, this is going to look weird. Hello world. But this is JSX because we're in React land now. It's not just JavaScript, it's React. And again, it's not part of the class. It's really cool, but we want to demonstrate what the bundler is going to do. So, so here we have this. So we have this HTML page. It's hitting this index.js, which is here. Index.js is importing the app from the app file and then rendering it. And this is what we're going to render. So when we load it up, we want to see a heading that says "Hello World." Okay, now we need to run it. So we can come in here and we could do. Well, let's just not do it that way. Let's do it this way. Okay, and we have this script thing. So this goes down to our task manager abilities of NPM. Okay. So we've talked about the package manager. Somebody's at the front door. We've talked about the bundler, which we're going to get, but we know that we're going to use parcel here. And now let's talk about the task manager, and then we'll get back to the parser. See what the parser is going to do. Did my vacuum just start? I don't know what's going on. There's like a party downstairs or something. Okay. Okay, so task manager. Let's just get rid of this test stuff. We don't. We're not going to do test. But that's if we had some tests. That's a task, right? And we could have it do our task for us. We're just going to do a start, a basic start command. Okay. And what it's going to do is it's going to do parcel, and it's going to we're just going to call it on the HTML file. So if we go source index.html, again, this is similar to Snowpack, I think. we're just gonna, parcel kind of knows what it's gonna do. So it's gonna go in here, see that, and then do some stuff. Okay. So now if we come down here and we do npm run start, okay, this is our task manager. npm is going to run this start script, little snippet of code, and let's see what happens. So parcel's running, parcel did some bundling stuff, okay, and it built in half a second. Okay, and then it says, oh, it's running at this. So if I open this, oh, look at that. We have a hello world h1, okay? We also notice that this script here is a little bit different. That's because parcel, the bundler, replaced that. And it's kind of cool too because it added a checksum, which is just an encoded segment of this file name that it's a hash. It hashes the contents of the file to put it there so that you can cache it. So if I change the file, this will change. If I don't change it, it will stay like that forever. It will have the same name. So then let's look at this. Okay, we can see this is our code. This is what I have, right? And you might think, well, this one over here, which is really small, it's so much more code. Brother Nelson, well, like, why is it so much more? You only have, 10 lines between these two. That's because I'm adding React, okay? So the majority of all this code is React and some other things that React uses, right? So all of this node module stuff that's in here, it all gets bundled up, packaged into this JavaScript file. Okay, I don't have to manage all that. The bundler manages all that. If we travel back to a time long ago, a couple years, really, maybe 15 years ago, maybe 20. We would, if we wanted to use a library like this, we would have to glue all these together ourselves and either have them all be included as scripts and make sure they're in the right order and make sure that, if we change one, we make sure we upload it, all that. Now, the bundler takes care of all that. It knows what order to go in, and it works. So now, if you see here, we have this. If we change it, come over here. Hello, WDD 330. Oops. And save that. Okay, boom. Hello, WDD 330. And that's another cool thing about Parcel and React is that you get some hot loading. So, okay, let's say that we want to add something else. This is just for fun. If you're in a time crunch or whatever, you can be done now. That's kind of all the basics of everything. But I just want to show some other cool things that you can do. So, if we look at this React thing, there's this counter, okay? And I just want to copy it and see what happens. So, to make her. So we're going to create a new file, and again, just to show how the bundler works too. New file, counter.js. Okay, this is a new component, and we're just gonna copy this. Okay, and we're gonna make sure we export this. Okay, and you'll see again, just HTML looking code. What's that doing in there? It's just React. Okay, and then in our app here, we can do import counter from counter, and then let's just we're gonna do this, and then we're just gonna put the counter like that. See, that's our own component. So it looks like HTML too, as well. Oh, and because I did it that way, I have to wrap it with a, this is called a fragment. You don't have to worry about that, but okay. Just make it look nice. Okay. It's way too much. I don't know why my tabs are so big. Okay. So now let's come over to our fun app, and oh, look, we have that, and then this counter, which is another H1. Let's make that an H2, because as we learned in previous classes, you don't want to have more than one of those. So just one H1 per page. Let's make that H2 and a button. Okay, if we hit that button, it increments. Okay, and that's because what we have here is we have this onClick, which calls a function when it's clicked. And again, this is a little bit different from normal HTML. In fact, it's a lot different because we're putting JavaScript code right in there. You can't do that. You have to, put a string and then put like the name of the function, right? This is passing an actual function, and then when it gets clicked, it calls the function. So you'll see, this is a fat arrow function, and it's setting the count to count plus 1. This set count is a state. Okay, it starts at 0, and it returns this function use state returns two things. It returns a variable of the state, a representation of the state, and then a function to change that state, or a setter. Okay, so now we have this use state, and so what we're doing here is we're taking that count and we're updating it and putting it in here. It's kind of like binding it with these curly braces. It's not really, I guess it's binding it. It's really interpolating it right there in the code. Because it's not bound. You can't, if you change it here, it's not going to change it anywhere else. It's really just like string interpolation, or like similar to like a temperate literal, but not exactly, because again, this is JSX. And then we have the setter, and so when we click the setter, it's changing it, re-rendering it. This count is now, if I click on this, the count's going to go 14 because it changes here, and then it's going to show 14. Okay, and again, this is, if we look at it, it's all built into here. The other thing, in your readings last week, we talked about like uglyifying and things like this. Like it is hard to figure out. Like if I tried to read this and figure out what this is doing, it's not going to be very easy. Even if I search for counter, I don't know like if it's even in here. There's counterclockwise. There's 40 instances of counter. Encounter this warning. A bunch of encounters. I don't think that we'll ever find my counter object because it's uglyfied. I have no idea what it's called. All of these are other built-in things. Task ID counter. Okay, so here we go. We can see it, and that's probably just because this is running in dev mode. We can see that, and this is the uglyfied code. This is what is actually running, and this is what I wrote, right? So counter. This is the app. It's returning this children array, just kind of an ugly, compiled down React. Okay, JSX, whatever. So now, if we come in here and get out of here, and if we build, so this is back to our task managing. If we come down here and let's create another task called build. Okay, this is like for production. This isn't for development mode. This is like we want to take this to the web. We're gonna do parcel build, I think, and see what happens. Okay, I'm not sure if that's right, but let's just see. So we're going to run build instead of start. Okay, and yeah, so gives me a little hint. It's like, I don't think you think that means what it means. But yes, that's true. Our entry point, our main part of this app is the index, right? So let's just fix that, and let's see what happens. Okay. Then it says it has to be this. So let's see what that other. Oops. Okay, so it says it has to be JavaScript. Let's just remove it. Like, we don't really want it. Maybe. I don't know. Run build. Okay, that worked. I just get in the way. Okay. Instead of hosting it and saying, oh, you can load it up on localhost like we used to, it's now saying it's built, and it's in this distribution folder. Okay, and we have 2 JS files and an HTML. Okay, this HTML is nice and uglyified as well, right? It strips all the white space, makes it minified, okay? But it looks very similar to what we were seeing down here. Okay, almost exactly. Okay, and then in these, we're going to see this big old gross uglyified stuff. So let's load that up and see if we can find counter. I have a feeling that we're not going to be able to. So I'm going to just go to the static, and I'm going to load up the dist. Okay, and then I'm going to be able to go like here. What did I do? Dist. Unexpected. You know what? I think it's probably cached, maybe. There we go. Yeah, it was loading up our previous cache thing. Okay, so now if we go and look at this, and I guess I could have just searched it in, but you'll see this is even uglier than it used to be, and the reason why I say that is, look at this. These vars, just random letters. It used to be at least a couple different things, you know. Some words. Okay, I guess I should have said React is a Facebook project, so that's where that came from. So you do see that those aren't uglyified, and the license banners are still here, but this is React production code, like these lines. That's it. Okay, but if we try to find counter, and my counter was, if you remember, it was underscore counter, nothing. I don't even think we'll find any counter. Remember, we found 40 before. We get nothing because everything is uglyified, because this is production, right? So this is what you're going to ship on the internet. You're going to put this up there. It's nice and crisp. Though, let's see here. So there's this other one too. Let's just open it over here. And just, okay, so there's module. Find, wait, is that letting me find things? Find. Let's find counter. Okay, so we're getting those 40 counters. It has something with counter. Oh, okay. So, yeah, there's still some stuff here. I don't know why that's not getting boiled down, but it's possible that I just need to set it up so that it looks more like this over here. I would expect it to look like something like this, but I mean, it's still not terribly easy to read and deal with. But this is what we get when we talk about uglyify. Like this, it would be very hard, and not just because there's no white space. Like you have no idea what these variables mean without I'm not saying that it's not possible. There's probably a lot of smart people who can kind of derive the meanings of these variables based on what they do within this code, but it's not going to be like, oh yeah, I just want to change this and I can change that. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. So again, just sort of little recap. npm node package manager. We were able to create this project and install dependencies, and in this case, parcel and React. We were able to create this JSON file, package.json, that kind of defines our app. And then as a task manager, we were able to add 2 tasks: start, and that's like start a development server where we can make changes and see things like this, and build. So build a production ready version of our app so that we can throw that up on the internet. And then as an example of showing off the bundler, I decided to use React just because I know that it has some syntax that's a little bit different. We tried to load that into the browser, saw that it wasn't having any of that less than sign, and then but as we threw it through the bundler, it changed that into usable JavaScript and glued all these things together to make an app that works. So hopefully that kind of gets you excited and gives you a little bit more information on those 3 things. And I wish you luck this week, and we'll see you with our video next week. If you have any questions about any of this, please reach out on Slack or email. I'm happy to talk about it. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good evening. Bye.